Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, 55, Text 9. Nati dirgena kalena sakarvi rudhayovana janayam asa narinam vikshantinam cha vibramam. So this is a continuation of the story of Pradyumna in this chapter 55. After a short time, the son of Krishna, Pradyumna, attained his full youth. He enchanted all women who gazed upon him. Text 10. I'll just read the translation. My dear king, with a bashful smile and raised eyebrows, Mayavati. Who was she? Anyone remember? Mayavati exhibited various gestures of conjugal attraction as she lovingly approached her husband, whose eyes were broad like the petals of a lotus, whose arms were very long, and who was the most beautiful of men. So she was, until now, she was the cook or the kitchen. She was in charge of preparing rice and vegetables, we learn. And she had taken this child as and raised him, but now she's exhibiting other behavior. So purport, Mayavati exhibited her conjugal attraction for Pradyumna even before revealing their true identities. Naturally, this caused some confusion at first, as described in the following verse. Text 11. Lord Pradyumna told her, "Oh mother, your attitude has changed. You are overstepping the proper feelings of a mother and behaving like a lover." Text 12. Rati, or Mayavati, said, "You are the son of Lord Narayan and were kidnapped from your parents' home by Shambhara. I, Rati, am your legitimate wife, O master, because you are Cupid." So she's been addressed by two names, Mayavati and now Rati. Mayavati is the role she was playing in Shambhara's kitchen. Rati is her prior role and her actual role as the wife of Cupid. Text 13. That demon Sambara threw you into the sea when you were not even 10 days old, and a fish swallowed you. Then in this very place we recovered you from the fish's abdomen, O master. Text 14. Now kill this dreadful Sambara, your formidable enemy, although he knows hundreds of magic spells. You can defeat him with bewildering magic and other techniques. Text 15. Your poor mother, having lost her son, cries for you like a kurari bird. She is overwhelmed with love for her child, just like a cow that has lost its calf. His mother is Rukmini Devi. And now verse 16, with the last verse that we read. Sukadev Goswami continued, speaking thus, Mayavati, or Rati, gave to the great soul Pradyumna the mystic knowledge called Mahamaya, which vanquishes all other deluding spells. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Rupa Shri Sanatana Bhattaraguna Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasaraguna Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Go Ritvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. So this is a very interesting section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're learning about Pradyumna, who is also being described as Cupid, and it's quite a fantastic story of his being kidnapped and then thrown into the sea and swallowed by a fish. It reminds us also a little bit of a story from the Bible where Jonah, the prophet, is swallowed by a fish, but then protected from death and comes back to learn and preaches the word of God to the people that have turned. He's encouraging them to turn their faith away from materialism and return to God. So a slight resemblance in these stories. Today also is Easter. We can also acknowledge that the resurrection of Christ is celebrated today around the world, and Christ is a great teacher of devotion. Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur specifically mentions bhakti. So we could also acknowledge that this is a day of where that is being observed and remembered. Specific to this story, our acharyas, they analyze it and explain it in very interesting ways. There is the direct reading of the text, face value reading of the story, but then our acharyas also explain other lessons that we could derive from this study. Yeah, principles that we can derive. And they relate to the struggle with lust and love. Lust, the attachment to enjoy, to exploit the material nature. Krishna calls it the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. Kamesha Krodesha Rajaguru Samudbhava. Arjuna says, by what are we impelled to do things that we know are against our own personal interest? We do things that we know are bad for us. We know will not bring good to us in the longer term, some immediate gratification, but we know that the effects of it will be long-term disgrace or disaster or shame or whatever the case may be. But we go for it nonetheless. And Krishna says, because of lust, the sinful enemy, it has colonized our senses, it has colonized our intelligence, it has colonized our mind. Bilva Thakur, he gouged out his eyes. He had been driven by lust, taken from his home, from his guru, from his respectable position in society as a brahmana. He had lost it all to lust for a particular personality, Chintamani, who was a prostitute. And then when he realized, by her words actually, she told him how pitiable he was, how he had disgraced himself in his lust for her. So it was a wake-up call for him, and he extracted himself from the situation, journeyed to Vrindavan, but then again became overcome. And he took to a very drastic measure that is not recommended in the Shastras. It is just a specific incident with a specific individual and his desperation. He gouged out his eyes, which he saw were leading him astray, colonized by lust. So Krishna tells us in the Gita, we must take control. We must take control of the senses, the buddhi, the mind, with the self, with strengthening self-awareness, self-realization in bhakti than it is in our relationship with Krishna. And so we are attempting to do this. Bilva Mangala Thakur is one example, but throughout history, there are so many. In biblical history, you have Samuel and Delilah. We have in ancient Western history, European history, Anthony and Cleopatra. In Vedic history, it's Vishwamitra and Urvasi, or so many Muni and some fish. So yeah, that's a surprising one. Meditating under the water, the Yamuna River in Vrindavan for 10,000 years, and then finally it's some fish copulating that throws his mind, leads him to give up all of his penance and austerity, come out of the water after 10,000 years submersion, and approach the nearest king, Mandata, and ask him, I want to marry, let me marry one of your daughters. He had 50. Mandata's looking at this sage. You've been underwater for 10,000 years. You know, skin's all wrinkled, long hair and nails, and he's not quite that attractive. And so Mandata says, look, if any of them agree to marry you, you can marry them. Quite certain that none of them would ever agree to marry him. But then he has yogic power. So he changes himself into the most handsome man in the universe and enters the palace of the princesses, and they all want to marry him. And so he returns to Mandata and says, well, you said if any of them want to marry me, they can. It turns out that they all do, so I'll marry all 50. So yeah, their scripture, history, it is filled with examples of people who get distracted by lust, who lose either their material opulence or their spiritual pursuit on account of lust, their spiritual progress. Here in this story, we have Cupid. Cupid is the, let's say, the agent of lust in this material world, the one who provokes or incites lust. So Cupid, he has been burned to ashes by Rudra, by Lord Shiva, and become disembodied. And so at the same time that he's trying to regain his body, so that's also a condition. You lose your body prematurely, you can be disembodied for a period of time. And so Kamadev, Cupid, he found a situation whereby the original Cupid, the prototype Cupid, that is Krishna, so love personified, is taking birth in this world as Krishna's son. The son of Rukmini and Dwarkadish is Pradyumna, the prototype Cupid, the original Cupid. And so material Cupid, who is empowered with his energy, it just gets applied in a perverted way, he takes birth with him at the same time. And so the two Cupids are appearing in one form, the form of Pradyumna, and then kidnapped by this demon, Sambara, at birth. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains the souls are conditioned by desire, mundane Cupid, but then the spiritual Cupid, in this instance, is being born from Rukmini Devi, personified spiritual opulence. Or when Krishna's opulence is a manifest, then it also can manifest within us attraction for Krishna. When we come to the temple, when we see the opulent temple, and we are inspired to come inside, we have no attraction for Krishna, maybe, yeah? But we see the temple and, some spiritual opulence, we're attracted. We see the deity dressed and served so nicely, that manifestation of spiritual opulence, and then we are also drawn by some attraction for Krishna. Some attraction for Krishna can be awakened there. And so in personified spiritual opulence, Rukmini Devi, there is a manifestation of this attraction, spiritual attraction towards Krishna. And so this is the desired situation for us, to transfer from material attraction or lust to this attraction towards Krishna by the agency of the prototype Cupid, or the original Cupid, Lord Pradyumna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains this further. It's interesting. He says, renunciants like Mahadev, Rudra, They want to burn Cupid to ashes, to destroy Cupid. Cupid is the enemy. And the Vaishnavas, and he says, and because of this, the renunciants wanting to burn Cupid, and then enjoyment will take shelter. Rati, the wife of Cupid, personified enjoyment, she takes shelter with the demons. Here it's Sambara. He says, but when devotional service, devotional opulence, or the opulence of devotional service manifests as Rukmini, and the prototype spiritual Cupid is reborn, and then there is also opportunity for spiritual pleasure. So Rati, as in we say Rati is attraction for Krishna, right? Rati is the taste or the pleasure we experience in loving Krishna. And so there's a lesson for you and I. We want to cultivate attraction. We don't want to burn it like Lord Shiva does to Cupid, but we want to cultivate the spiritual, purified attraction, not directed to the material nature, but directed to the spiritual nature. And that is what the Vaishnavas do, and that is how the Vaishnavas pray. Yuvitanam yuta yuni, yunam cha yuvito yata, manobir ramate tadvan, manome ramatam tvayi. Very beautiful prayer. Just as youths, male, female, are attracted to their opposite gender, or they're attracted to one another in material lust, naturally, spontaneously, even uncontrollably, so to speak. In the same way, the devotee prays, Krishna, let my mind be naturally, spontaneously, uncontrollably drawn towards and attracted to you. So we can analyze this further then. Mayavati, or Rati, what is her role here? She helps Pradyumna overcome the demon. So when material, when enjoyment takes shelter with the demons, or takes shelter in demoniac pursuits, then spiritual attraction can help us overcome, or spiritual pleasure can help us overcome that. So we have a nice description here. One day Rati, or attachment or pleasure, tells Pradyumna who they really are. You are not, what is Pradyumna thinking he is in Sambara's palace? You are not a child of this palace, of this demon. You are the original Pradyumna. You are the son of Rukmini Devi, the opulence of devotional service. You are the son of Krishna. And I am not one to give pleasure in the demon's kitchen. I am your consort. And so we can extrapolate from this that there is something that happens when the soul experiences pleasure in devotional service. We experience kirtan, right? We experience kirtan, and there's a joyfulness that rises in our heart. And we experience a pleasure that is not mundane. It's not based on taking refuge in intoxication or sex or gambling, but it's something profound and uplifting and felt at a very deep level. And it gives us a sense of our higher spiritual nature. It gives us a sense of a state or a level of consciousness beyond the mundane, beyond the material. It gives us a sense of connection with the divine. And Krishna talks about this in the Gita. Vishayavani vartante niraharasya dehina rasa varjam rasopyasya param dristva nivartate. It is difficult to give up attachment to the senses. It is difficult when lust has colonized our mind and intelligence and ego identity to give up that attraction or attachment. But if you get a higher taste in devotional service, it is easy. It is easy. You come to realize a higher spiritual nature, a higher spiritual relationship. And so there is a lesson for you and I in recognizing or the importance of spiritual experience of happiness in our outreach, but also in our own practice. We mustn't think that spiritual life is to be practiced as dry renunciation, stoicism, bhakti. It is practiced at the level of the heart, and it is experiential. And that is important to cultivate joyfulness in devotional service. Sometimes devotees are afraid of it. Oh, I'm feeling happy. I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to be renounced and detached. And I really love, I love devotional service and devotees, and I enjoy this spiritual life. Don't be afraid of that. That is a good thing. Of course, we are not doing kirtan to experience that. We must be doing kirtan and serving and associating to please Krishna. That is the objective of the goal. But the side benefit of devotional service and bhakti is Shri Krishna, is Shubhada, the beginning of everything auspicious. We cultivate bhakti for Krishna's pleasure. The side benefit is Shubhada. Everything becomes joyful. Everything becomes wonderful. Everything becomes auspicious. Okay, there's another element here in this story that gives us, that we can extrapolate from to meditate on how to overcome the mundane cupid or mundane material attachment and being captive by the demons of these false refuges, the false refuges of sense gratification in intoxication and illicit sex and gambling and so on. And that is that Mayavati gives Pradyumna a mantra, a Mahamaya mantra. So she tells him, this is who you are, this is who I am, and you need to confront the demon and overcome him. And this demon, he's wont to use magical spells. You'll read that in the Bhagavatam when Krishna confronts different demons, Shalva and Dantavakra and others. They use black magic. When Dhruva Maharaj goes to fight the Yakshas as well, there's all kinds of black magic that they're using. When Lakshman is fighting Indrajit's using all kinds of black magic, or Ravana engages Marichi, the magician, in casting spells and creating illusions. And so this is one of the demon's tactics, making illusions that confuse the mind and intelligence. And so Mayavati or Rati, she gives Pradyumna a counter, an antidote to the magic, and that is some mantras, Mahamaya mantras. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, they have given us a powerful mantra to overcome the illusions of the material nature, and that is the Maha Mantra. By their grace, we may get a taste of devotion in chanting and slay the demon's magic, the allure that's there, that makes us think that intoxication or illicit sex or gambling or promoting our false ego identity or our desire for domination and control, these illusions can be torn away, seen through by the power of chanting, the spiritual realization and insight and internal resolve and strength that is cultivated by chanting the Maha Mantra. And then for those who are second initiated, we call it second initiated, there is another very powerful mantra. These are all powerful mantras, but specifically the last of our mantras, it is also specifically targeted towards diffusing the power of the mundane cupid and cultivating the spiritual attraction for Krishna. the transcendental original Cupid, who is Krishna himself. Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan is Krishna who bewilders even Cupid. Madan Mohan. There's a story told in Vrindavan that once Krishna was dancing with the gopis and Cupid came to try to conquer him with material lust. And as he's firing his flower arrows, not just trying to take aim to fire his flower arrows, Krishna's dancing so beautifully, and Cupid's trying to adjust his aim, and he's seen how beautifully Krishna moves, and it mesmerizes him, and he faints. And so Krishna's beauty enchants and defeats Cupid himself. And so Krishna has this name, Madana Mohana. And Rupa Goswami tells us rhetorically, if you desire to enjoy society, friendship, and love, do not go to the bank of the Yamuna River, to Keshi Tirtha, where you will see Govinda, Krishna, playing on his transcendental flute with a beautiful smile, poised with his trimanga, threefold bending form, his eyes glancing everywhere, his flute placed to his reddish lips, with a peacock feather in his hair. Because if you see him, you will lose all mundane attraction. Okay, let's go to the last point, because Ananda asked us to finish at 1:45, and we are coming close to 1:45. And so a last point in relation to defeating colonization by the demon of lust and victimhood to the material Cupid. We've looked at two processes. One is to get a higher taste, which gives us a sense of our spiritual nature. The other is the power of mantra. A third process is dovetailing. This is not direct. The other two are direct. This third process, it is what would be referred to as aropa siddha bhakti, or aropa siddha, where we declare something to be our devotional intent. And so we can think about this pastime as well as a transmutation of the poison. Shiva drinks Kalahala poison, and he transmutes it. The principle here is where we take lust or enjoyment and we apply it in a regulated manner according to prescribed principles. And this gradually purifies the conditioned soul. And so here Rati approaches Pradyumna, that is, pleasure approaches Cupid. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, Yukta Vairagya, the purport is that Yukta Vairagya, or regulated lust and attachment, are acceptable, taking help from the teachings of his wife, Pradyumna, that is, taking help from the teachings of his wife, Rati, or pleasure. The Pradyumna, he was able to kill Shambhara. And so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, isn't it wonderful that a thing which is the cause of disease, when applied therapeutically, also becomes the cure? In medicine, you have the antidote. Sometimes this will involve also injecting some poison or some disease, but it's to create antibodies, resistance within the body, that we can then overcome a diseased condition. And so in the Vedic process, this is also applied, where we engage our nature or inclination that binds us to the material nature in a regulated way, dedicating it to Krishna, declaring, this, Krishna, is for you. Aropa means declaration. Krishna, I offer my life to you. Krishna, I do this with an intention of coming to you. I dedicate this home, I dedicate this work, this job, this family, this apparently mundane routine activities that I do to live in this world. I dedicate them and offer them to you. And Krishna accepts that, and it has a purifying effect on the soul. specifically when that is done in conjunction with direct activities or practices of devotional service as well. So we conclude by just summing up to say that the story is most wonderful, a reflection on Cupid or attraction, and how this attraction can be towards the material nature, which binds us in the material world, or towards the spiritual nature, that is Krishna himself, and that is the original position of the soul. And then there is pleasure, attraction's wife or Cupid's wife. And here in the role of Mayavati or Rati. And in relation to her, we are given three strategies. We've reflected on three strategies for overcoming the mundane Cupid, or the mundane attraction and the victimhood by demoniac tendencies. One is to get a higher experience of pleasure in devotional service and to cultivate that higher taste. The second was the power of mantra that Pradyumna deploys to overcome the demon. And third is a process of dovetailing and declaring that what we do, or dedicating what we do as an offering to Krishna, and engaging with the enemy, so to speak, but in a regulated way and a controlled way with a higher purpose of overcoming those attachments. So we conclude here for, just over time, for any questions and reflections. Ananda, I hand it over to you if you want to direct that. Usually you like to lead this process. Yeah. Otherwise, we have questions in the room or comments in the room. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your class. My question is centered around this topic of love. It seems that it is the most powerful force and the most satisfying force. And by its nature, it's about the object of love. So can you speak about how that is cultivated through our practice, that intention in our sadhanas and even in our activities throughout the day, how that is to be cultivated?
Okay, yeah, nice. Thank you. So question, how to cultivate a feeling of love in our practice. That is bhakti is not just an intellectual exercise. It's not just theoretical. It's not just in the head, but it is something that is felt in the heart. And the question here is, how do we cultivate that feeling? And my immediate answer to you is that it is cultivated in the association of devotees who have it. Yeah. So the awakening of that feeling in the heart comes through the mercy of Vaishnavas. There's no piety that you can do. There's no austerity that you can do. There's no yogic penance that you can do to earn it. It is received as grace from the bhaktas as special mercy. Yeah, not as a not as a right, but as or an entitlement, but as mercy. And so it is cultivated in the association of devotees who have that feeling. That's the first thing. And then how do the devotees engage us? They engage us to see Krishna. But when we see through their eyes, when we see through their hearts, then we see again. If we see the deity without the guidance of the devotee, we see a statue. Go to the Metropolitan Museum, you will see Narasimhadev and Krishna and Narayana. There are deities there. But yeah, hundreds of people, thousands of people will see them every day, but they see stone and brass and so on. But when you see the deity through the heart of the devotees, you actually get to see Krishna. You'll feel a connection with Krishna in seeing the deity. So the difference between seeing stone and seeing Krishna, even though we're not qualified, but seeing and feeling some connection. Radha Murlidhar, there's something that happens in the heart. Radha Govinda, something that happens in the heart. It's because we're seen in the association of Vaishnavas. Those deities are being served by Vaishnavas. There's kirtan that's happening for their pleasure, their service that's being offered for their pleasure. And then we see and we feel. Similarly with the chanting, with reading Srimad Bhagavatam, all of these things we get to see and hear and and taste again, not through our senses, but through the Vaishnavas that are around us or giving this to us, that we can then appreciate it. During the installation of Panchatattva in Mayapur, whatever year that was, I was on the altar and rushing back and forth along the altar and up to the deities and bringing one thing or another. And I wasn't feeling, I mean, it felt momentous, but I didn't feel swept up in a wave of any kind of bliss or ecstasy. And then the curtain opened and I saw the faces of the devotees, hundreds or thousands, however many it was, and there were gasps of just ecstasy and astonishment and joy and wonder. And when I saw the devotees, I turned and saw the deities again, and I felt, shivers in my spine and, hair, goosebumps on my body. I had been with them all morning, even the day before. I had been with the deity, but I hadn't felt that. But I felt it through the devotees. You want to feel, then we cultivate bhakti with devotees who feel. Thank you. So, Hare Krishna has a comment, and then Bima has a hand here as well.
Hare Krishna. Well, first comment, you can hear me okay? None
Yes, Prabhu.
It's Hare Krishna. So first comment is, wow, what a class. Thank you so much. We can't help but comment on the extraordinary empowerment from your spiritual master. And then was an excellent question about how do we feel. There's that amusing story Shruti Kirti tells. He was with Prabhupada months and months and months and months, and they would arrive at the airport, and devotees would be crying and throwing themselves on the floor and weeping and chanting and screaming and laughing, and he was just carrying Prabhupada's suitcase, and he was thinking, wow, everybody's like in bliss, and I'm just trudging along here, I'm with Prabhupada all the time. And so that day when he was giving Prabhupada a massage, he said, Prabhupada, I'm just a dried up raisin. I don't have any juice. I don't have any bliss. I don't have any ecstasy. And all the devotees are, and I'm just, and he said, Prabhupada didn't say anything. He thought Prabhupada would preach to him. You know the story. So Prabhupada didn't say anything. So then he went to get the lunch and bring it in. And he was thinking, I'm just going to kill myself. I'm jumping out the window. It's useless. I haven't gone anywhere. I don't feel anything. And everybody else is in Krishna consciousness. And I'm just a dud. And then he went back in to bring Prabhupada his lunch. And Prabhupada could sense that he was just completely torn up. And Prabhupada said, just do your service. We're not looking for bliss. We're not looking for ecstasy. We're just trying to please our spiritual master. And Bhakti-mam abhijanati. By engaging in devotional service to the deities, by the grace of the spiritual master, like I said, by the grace of the devotees, then Krishna reciprocates accordingly. If we give ourselves totally to Krishna and we make Krishna our only, then Krishna will appear to us as if we are his only. Right? All the gopis were thinking, he's just with me, So that the Jesus Christ things, the only son. It's not a quantitative only son, like there's only one God. One devotee was giving class, I think it was you, and somebody said, well, if Jesus is the only son, and whose sons are we? But we can all have that quality of onlyness. if we make Krishna our only, and if we're trying to please Krishna, like Prabhu said, it's a byproduct that we begin to perceive joy and ecstasy and that loving relationship. Anyway, one other comment, quick, really quick. I'm sorry I'm speaking so long. One principle that's illustrated by the story is when Prabhupada would always throw this in and we think, oh, you're right. I'm not this body. The same person had different bodies. And it's true for us also. I'm not this body.
Yeah.
I forget that every 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Well, go to Prabhupada.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, let's see. Another 5 minutes. So, Bhima.
Mighty Beam has his hand up.
Yeah,
The Mighty
does.
Beam.
Patient Bhima.
Haribol Prabhu, lovely class.
Hare Krishna.
Just very quickly, I just have a question. You know, as a father and a husband and someone who has lots of animals, I take my greatest pleasure is in seeing when my son was young, when he was I would get him, some kind of toy or some kind of, some kind of facility to engage, or guitar or something like that. And my greatest pleasure was, of course, seeing him happy doing the things that I helped facilitate, and my wife, my greatest pleasure is to see her happy. That's just my greatest, even if I'm not, I have anything to do with it. She comes home and she says, oh, it's such a wonderful thing happened, or, et cetera, et cetera. So not that something happens to me, not that somebody praises me, though I do love that. But or that something, or my happiness is something, and of course, as a devotee, I'm always like, don't hang on to this happiness, because, the next thing you know, it's going to flip sides. So just steady yourself. These calm seas won't last forever. But the question is, but my greatest happiness, the most intense happiness, is seeing others who I care for happy and enjoying. So why wouldn't that be prevalent in Krishna? If everything we do is, we can't enjoy, we have to please Krishna, not ourselves. But why wouldn't Krishna be thinking why would not Krishna have it as a ras that he derives great pleasure in seeing his devotees happy?
Yeah,
so
thank you.
Please speak to that.
Yeah. Great question, Bhima. And so I'm going to repeat it here for devotees in the temple room. Bhima's asking, he says he gets his highest pleasure when he sees his son happy or when he sees his wife happy. And he says, why wouldn't that be in Krishna? Because we sometimes in devotional service say, oh no, I can't enjoy the process, or I have to be, stoic and rigid in my practice. But he's asking, why wouldn't Krishna want to see his devotees happy? And the answer is that Krishna does want to see his devotees happy. He wants us all to come to him and to be united in our loving relationship with him. What's interesting about Krishna, and he tells us this in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that he does for his devotee whatever is best for the devotee. And so sometimes Krishna might appear to give his devotees pain. But he's doing this as well. Like Bhima, you're saying you want to see your son happy, but then sometimes you'll also chastise your son and you'll give your son some correction or guidance. And someone will say, but Bhima, don't you want your son to be happy? Isn't that the thing that you're all about? I say, yes, it is. That's why I need to chastise him or correct him, because I want him to be happy long-term, sustainably, ongoingly. I want him to live a good life. And so Krishna wants that for all souls, but particularly for his devotees who have said to Krishna, Krishna, I am yours. Take me, do with me as you wish. For all souls, he gives the karma they deserve, because they've chosen independence. But for the devotees who have said, Krishna, I am yours, do with me as you wish, Krishna will then he considers what is the best for this devotee now. The devotee might want a better material situation, but I'm going to hold back on that for the time being, because it's best for my devotee. Or my devotee might be feeling very detached, but I'm going to give this devotee lots of opulence because it's going to be better for them somehow or other, for their service. I'm going to take away Yudhisthira's kingdom, and then I'm going to make him the emperor of the world. And so that's Krishna's prerogative in dealing with his devotees. And Sukadev Goswami explains to Parikshit Maharaj, this is what a key differentiator between Krishna's dealings with his devotees and how the demigods deal with their worshippers. With the demigods and their worshippers, Sukadev Goswami says it's transactional. The demigod worshipper says, here's the offering, that's my desire, give me the reward. And so Lord Shiva says, okay, you want to blow people's heads up by touching them with your finger? Sure, here, have it. And Sukadev Goswami says, Krishna wouldn't do that for his devotee. He will consider what's best for this devotee now. They're saying they want this, but it's actually not good for them. And so I'm going to give them what is best for them. And so, yes, absolutely, Krishna wants us to be happy. He wants us to be satisfied. And he's making these arrangements for devotees in this world, and then in Goloka Vrindavan, he's performing his pastimes in the same way, sometimes revealing himself to be present to the devotees, sometimes withdrawing himself as well, making them appear to be crazy, but heightening their love and affection and attachment for him. And he's doing all of this out of love for his devotees. So that inclination that you have, Bhima, to want to make your son and wife happy, you get from Krishna, who wants to do the same for you and I as well. We are over time, I see, so we will conclude here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Shri Prahlad Prabhu ki jai. Wonderful class. Prabhu, excellent. Thank you.
Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Hari Bol.
Okay, it's darshan time. Turn on your cameras. Krishna wants to see you happy. Krishna delights in that. Thank you, Vinisha. Sundaranandaji. Chanting Gayatri, overcoming lust. Yeah. Good. Narottam Nitai. Okay. Jai Nitai Prabhu ki jai. The camera is blurred. I don't think we're going to see the deities. It's blurry. Okay, it's good now. It's blurry again.
Yeah, just wait for the curtain to open and then you can
Okay.
tell me how to adjust. Jai Radha Murlidhara Radha Murlidhara Radhe. Hari Purusha Hari Purusha
Maybe the background is blurry.
Oh, okay. Good point. I will change the settings here. Bhagavatam Samastikam Purato
Jai Shri Shri Radha Muradhar. This was the class. Wishing you a wonderful Sunday. It was nice spending this early hour with you, as always. Venetia, looking good. You ready for the Easter, for the egg hunt? In the office. Hare Krishna. Happy Easter.